All right, so to ease you into the podcast, to ease you into the Ease Up podcast, we all be in there, so we try to give a little Bahamian-y aspect to the thing, so something everybody can relate to. Everybody got a different answer. So my question for you today is simple question, but it got a lot of culture in it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So hot potty, beef potty, or chicken potty?
Wait, none, wait.
Okay. You gotta elaborate.
Please.
All right. So right now it's pescatarian.
Okay.
6 years, but
Okay.
before I was pescatarian, when I was young or whatever, I used to run the track or whatever like that.
Okay.
Used to always have this running thing that if you want to be fast, you can't be eating them chicken and beef bodies.
You telling me?
He's like, you gotta eat the veggie bodies, boy.
Well,
so from the time I was a little boy, I was eating veggie bodies.
Using them cabbage bodies?
Yeah, but
I used to look at them so funny.
Okay.
Even in school, where people are like chicken and beef, there's the only option. So plenty days I used to go without.
I don't remember my school selling no veggie.
No.
We used to sell veggie body. Yeah, Kingsway used to try to have their own little thing going on, their little healthy thing.
St. John's, it was chicken. Well, you might get chicken, but most days just beef. You might get chicken some days.
Wow. Our generation, we had a little better than the set who come in. Our party used to be $1, so now it's 75 cents.
Yeah, you get
now almost $2 for a party.
$2.25 some schools.
Yeah, $2.25 some schools.
Almost $2 for a party.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
All right, so I just want to say welcome to the Ease Up podcast. We're here with Father Ruel Strachan.
Stay strong. Focus on love and not on war. Do you even know who all you affect when you perfect your heart of war? Do you even care to feel that only time will reveal? Ease up and stay strong. Focus on love and not on war.
Father Strachan, I wanna introduce our guests, our viewers to you a little bit more. Give them a little background on yourself, where you from, and a little background on your profession now.
Got you, man. Named Ruel Strachan. I currently serve as the assistant curate, layman's term, assistant priest at St. Agnes. I'm an Anglican priest and was trained in Barbados for 3 years and then in London for 1. Before that, brought up as an Anglican and went to St. John's. Of course, got to get a shout out there. I think that's pretty much it for me.
Boy, we got the people looking at us a little funny, boy.
It's not to say distinguished school.
Distinguished. Boy, we look a little biased. We got some proud St. John's alumnus coming in and singing your praises. But we love to see it, man. We love to see it.
Okay. That's nice. So I have a little question that dives more into your background.
Yeah.
Just wanted to know, so what really pushed you or motivated you to become a priest, or what happened? What was it that pushed that decision?
Well, I think the first thing is it was something that I didn't know at the time or whatever. I felt it from the time I was a little boy. Okay. So, but the thing it was, now that I look back on it, it was everything was there for me to do this. Generations of my family been faithful in the church and stuff like that.
Okay.
And so when I always tell people, I can't remember a time in my life where I didn't want to be a priest. So
that's interesting. That's very interesting.
From time as a little boy, my earliest memories was seeing the priest walk out at mass, and I was like, bro, that's me. That could be me.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing.
I have a little B part of that question.
Yeah.
So, given that, you said you studied for 3 years in Barbados and you did a year in London.
Yeah.
So I also want to know, how would you say your life has changed since you've made that decision to actively pursue it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a bit different because there's like a lot more that comes with actually actively pursuing it. You know, in a sense, it's a lot of sacrifices that you know I had to make, and certain decisions, you know, aren't really yours anymore.
I can imagine. I can imagine. Right.
Yeah.
That's a commitment. That's a commitment.
So it's that kind of commitment, and you know, you got to trust that, you know, the things that are working out for you. You know.
Okay. I like that.
I love to hear that, man. It seemed like the passion was there from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like it was something that you wanted to do.
Yeah, man.
And I'm very happy to see that you got there,
Yeah, bro.
You know. So
That's very
like
cool.
we were speaking before, and I did a little bit of research myself going into this. I grew up in a church, a churchly household, and I pretty much always understood the difference in a Catholic church and an Anglican church. I knew that it was different. I knew, you know, a Baptist church is this, and I pretty much knew that they were different. Different. They were different from each other.
Yeah.
But in my research, I realized some stuff that I was completely ignorant to.
Yeah.
So if you could give a little bit of light on, you know, for the average person, like as far as, you know, because I thought that the Pope was over everybody.
Yeah.
Or I thought that the Anglicans had their own Pope. So give a little bit of light on that
a little
first.
breakdown.
Yeah, I mean, for me, is I always tell people, like, even when I teach in young people and stuff around the church, that, you know, at the heart and the core of it only could be one body of Christ, you know?
Right.
So I tell people, you know, you use yourself as an example. You only got one body, you know? You got different parts and members and stuff like that. But you can't have two bodies.
Right,
you know?
right.
So it's in a similar way, it's only one body. It just so happened that over time, you know, normally, you know, whenever problems arise, the church had a sort of formula. It was, you know, you get together, all of the bishops or, you know, all of the elders, you get them together at the council. They pray, they discuss the issue, they discern the issue, and then they come to a solution or whatever through these church councils. What often happened was the people that was on the losing end of the argument, or who felt that they were on the losing end of the argument, you know, in conscience was like, "Boy, we can't stay no more."
Got
you
you,
know?
got you.
And so that, I think the first real split, well, kind of minor, but it was like the Syrian Orthodox Church, like
A couple
talking
of
about
years
5th
ago.
century or something like that. So you're talking way back.
that's-
But from then, like, you had a lot of councils and stuff like that, and but the Anglican Church has been around for centuries, and I mean, I think we could trace back to some of the earliest church councils, you know, having the English represented from the earliest church councils.
That was interesting for me too, to find out how involved the patriarchy in England was so instrumental, and it's real interesting information.
Yeah.
So for those who wouldn't know, then you'd say that the Catholics broke off from the Anglicans?
No. I mean, it was, like I said, it was really one church. It was one church, just in different places. And like I say, as these disagreements and arguments arose, you know, there became the need for like councils and stuff. And then often people who felt that they were on the losing end, you know, went their way. Now, like a lot of people say, like, you know, the Anglican Church is a product of the Reformation, which was like 16th century.
Yes.
But, you know, I wouldn't so much hold to that because, you know, that the church in England, or I think the Latin term Ecclesia Anglicana, which would be like the Anglican Church, was around for centuries before the Reformation. So it just so happened that with the Reformation, 16th century, you had a formal split where you saw the Church of England become one thing, and then at that stage, you know, you saw where what we would know as the Catholic Church decided to say that they're going to be the Roman Catholic Church, so that we could have, you know, to be distinguished. But my understanding in terms of Anglican tradition is that, you know, we are part of what we would refer to as the Catholic Church, which is the universal church. You know?
Okay, interesting. That's a history lesson, man. I so interested. That's interesting to me. That's intriguing. I probably could pick your brain some more afterwards, because that's really interesting. So I have another personal question for you. And right now your title is as a priest, as an assistant priest, like you mentioned earlier. 10, 15 years from now, where do you see yourself in that hierarchy in the Anglican diocese?
I mean, I don't think that's really for me to say. I mean, for me, it's more so just about being faithful, you know. To serve people as a faithful priest, and wherever that takes me, you know.
I like that.
I'd be fine. You know, I think that is very sort of different. You know, in a secular sense, you know, it's about sort of climbing the ladder and stuff like that. But in this sense, it's really just about being faithful, man. And you know, you can faithfully serve wherever that is, you know. And if it so happens that through that, you know, you get to certain places, then so be it. If not, so be it as well, you know.
Boy, if I didn't know no better, I think you had a PR manager, because that was basically the perfect answer. I love it.
But I could definitely like understand and have a very good respect for that, because it shows that you're like I said from the beginning, that your heart is in it. It isn't more so like you say on the secular side, where it's I want to achieve this, or in a certain time frame, I have to be here. It's more so from you're coming from the perspective as, listen, from who I am as a person, I just want to stay true to that and follow my faith. And then follow my faith, wherever my faith leads me, is I'll be content with that. And you have to respect that. You have to respect that.
It sounds like you're doing it for the right reason. You ain't trying to be the one to tell people what to do. It's the passion and the love behind it. That's what you want in every aspect of life. Whether it's a regular occupation, or if you're picking up trash on the side of the road, you ain't want to just be doing it for the money. Or just for doing its sake. It's the passion behind it, you know? And we love to see that, man. We love to see that.
So I have another personal question. What would you say are some of your biggest joys of being a priest?
I think some of the biggest joys just to be able to, I always share with people that as a priest, you get to journey with people in a very different way than the ordinary person would journey with people. Of course, you know, all of us would experience some of the kind of things that I would experience in terms of our family and people we connected to. But for the most part, outside of that, you know, we wouldn't have that sort of experience. So for me, it's like, you know, the joy of, you know, seeing a couple, you know, being able to marry a couple and, you know, baptize their child and to see that child grow up and just to see how, you know, the family grows in faith and stuff like that. And even to be able to journey with a lot of elderly people as they sort of, you know, come to the final stages or days of their life. And that's a gift to be there, you know? It's a gift to be there and the journey alongside people in that way. Because as I said, not everybody can have that opportunity. You know, I had experiences where, you know, people were like, you know, the point at which their relative got, it was like, bro, only children and the priest right now, you know, we want around. And for me, like, I count that as a real gift to be able to do that and to be able to journey alongside people. So I think just journeying with people in the joys and the sorrows, I think that's been the greatest joy for me in seeing that.
And I can relate to that. You know, I can relate to that on a personal level, because for people who don't know, I basically really grew up with one grandmother, and she was more so like in the Catholic Church. But in that, like, as she got to more so of her elderly years, it would really, like you said, it would be instances where, like, when she's bedridden, only people who would be able to come to the house were also like the grandchildren, her children, and then when we'd come there, we'd already meet the priest there. But it literally be just that. And it's like no one else could come through. So like I could understand that. I could relate to that.
That sound like, to me, what it sound like, especially from the words and the way you speak in your words, is your favorite part of it is experiencing that true love, kind of, sort of, or being able to admit it, or to be able to take it in. I think that's something, because I would always tell people it's something. I used to volunteer when I was in London at a place called L'Arche, which was for people with like learning disabilities. And they had this thing at L'Arche, and I think like a lot of that I find in priesthood as well, where I go and you know, and it may appear as though I'm the person that's supposed to be helping in this situation, you know, and you find that in going, you know, and in interacting with these people that, you know, they actually helping me, you know,
too, and sometimes they helping me more than I
you
helping them.
yeah.
You know,
Yep.
That's beautiful,
And
man.
And that's
for
the beauty of life.
Yeah, that's a real beautiful thing because being able to journey. Why I said that's the greatest joy. Being able to journey alongside people like that is that I hope that in journeying alongside them in that way, that and having the conversations about faith and God and about the world and their lives, I hope that both myself and them, that we could journey closer in following God together. If we could, if I could be some sort of assistance to them to help them to walk just a little bit closer, I think there's great joy in that.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful. That's what I could take this from that for sure. From just the conversation we had so far, because you could take this. You could almost be in a self-exalted place, knowing where you are as such a young man and already in priesthood. You could look at it as you above or beyond, and you don't have to learn anything. But you going into these situations already open to
what I can
what
receive.
could I learn here? What could I receive? And that's beautiful, man.
And that's the mindset. I feel that's the mindset you should have. Not even like in general, like going into almost any situation, you should always have the mindset of what can I take from this? Even if you were placed in the position to be the person to teach, you have to also understand that in me teaching, there is a way for me to learn at the same time. And if you try to shun out the fact that, listen, I only here to give y'all information, I don't need to be taking anything. Like,
you are the loss.
You stifle yourself in the process. So I like that.
Lastly, before we go to our first break, I want to ask. I mean, you pretty much touched on it in the last question, but I'd like to know specifically, what are the roles that you basically take on as a assistant priest, and how's your day-to-day pretty much?
Day-to-day. That's something I always get laugh about, because like even some of the youngsters around church, like when I teaching and talking with them, they would be like, bro, what you do through the week? And I would be like, well, I'm a priest. I work at the church. And it's like, no, I mean that, like with 9 to 5, what you do, like what your job is, bro. I'm like, I telling you,
I work at the church.
But for me, week to week is 1 day out of the week, at least 1 day out of the week, try to, I tell people, a priest is never off, but 1 day a week I take out of office so I could just sort of, refresh myself.
Which is fine. Which is needed.
Yeah,
it's
which is needed. And the other day is filled with administrative work and, occasional meetings. At least 1 day or a couple days out of the week, I visit with the sick and confined, people who can't come out to church as they would like.
Okay.
So I go and spend time with them in their homes, administer communion to them. My responsibility where I am as well, I'm responsible for youth ministry in the parish. So connecting with the young people, trying to enable them with the resources that they need to be able to do what they have to do, and to try to encourage them in their work. And then, of course, the part that most people would see would be the Sunday mornings in terms of preaching and offering mass. That's what most people would see. But the day-to-day is, the administration, the visitation, and then the emergencies that pop up.
I can imagine.
You have your emergencies.
And as well as counseling as well, the people that may need to talk about something or that may want to come and run something by me as their priest, open for that as well. So that's week to week, but like something like the counseling, that ain't a scheduled thing,
Right. That's whenever you get a call.
Whenever I get a call, then we set up something. It's not like by Tuesday 3:00 every week is counseling. Right. So that's a bit of the day to day. There's a bit more to the day to day. Of course, like for example, weddings and funerals, if they come up, again, the weddings maybe you can schedule at a time. The funerals ain't really nothing to schedule. So officiating at them and preparing parents and godparents for to have their children baptized and stuff like that. So that's I think that's the bulk of the day-to-day stuff.
Boy, you list off about 100 things. So when you see a priest, thank God for them because they doing a lot.
That's a very active.
They doing a lot. That sound like
I honestly didn't know
3 weeks of work.
that active. That's actually a very active schedule.
So yeah, man, y'all tune in. We'll be back in a.
Tired of knockoff accessories that leave your device worse than before? Solve those problems and more here at Create Tech Bahamas, bringing tomorrow's technology to your doorsteps today.
All right, guys. All right. I hope y'all got y'all popcorn and used the bathroom and all the other stuff. Get all your refreshments because we back.
We back.
We back. So for those who just tuning in, we're here with, Father Ruel Strachan. And it's been actually a very, very, very interesting conversation. We've learned a lot. So going into this next segment, we just want to, these are some questions that we just want to actually just get your opinion on the different things and just, get some feedback, get your knowledge and your wisdom. So my first question for you is, what would you, if you want to, you can give it from the general definition or you can use your personal definition, but what would you say in your terms of spirituality?
Well, yeah, it's I wouldn't say it's my definition. I'd credit it to someone else. But I think that spirituality is, particularly Christian spirituality, I think someone described it as like a long obedience or a long following or walking in the same direction. So I think for me, that's what I would refer to it, as well as I think it's the nature of God and our response to the divine initiative, I would say.
Okay.
It's very interesting. So my question, what I'd like to ask on that pretty much is, how do you feel like that impacts someone's daily life? Whether it be you or people in general, how
people you've come across who you've known are walking into the faith, how would you say it impacts their everyday lives?
Yeah, I think it has a tremendous impact on people's everyday lives, but I think that it could still have much more of an impact. One of the things that I think why a lot of people in our generation and the generation just coming up now behind us, I think one of the things why they seemingly been turned off from spirituality and religiosity and stuff is that I think that they see a disconnect in terms of their family and friends and their elders knowledge and experience versus actually like practical implication of that. And we get that quite a bit, where children, grandchildren and stuff like that have, essentially strayed away from the church because they can't make sense of how, someone could have this knowledge and experience, but it has not so much of a practical implication in their everyday lives. So in that sense, I think that there could be much more. I think it's very important for everyday journey. A monk encouraged me before, and I always encourage people now that to take some break during the day, even if it's not a lunch break. You don't have to eat, but just take some break in the middle of the day or at some point in the day and just stop and have that opportunity to reflect or to just be in silence, And I think that's a beautiful thing. But I think that in terms of what we would see as a sort of rigorous sort of spirituality, most people could benefit from infusing more and more spirit of Christian spirituality into their daily routine. We pray, but like I said, most of our prayers now is people talking to God, and then it's almost like one bishop would say, it's almost like you're a machine gun conversationalist. You just God this, God that, God that, God that. And once you say amen, it's like bam, you going about your business. But there's another aspect to that. Like right now, even in our conversation, I talking right now and you listening. When I stop talking now, you start talking. I listening. Facts. And so we have to bring those two elements together, I think, more in our daily lives. It's not only a talking to God and with God, but also a listening to God. Yeah, a lot of people remember that story from Samuel, speak Lord, for your servant is listening.
Right.
And I heard a nun this week flip that around, and she was like, it's often like people are saying now, listen, Lord, your servant is speaking, So it's like so many people aren't taking the time just to say, listen, yes, I can talk to God, but I also can spend the same amount or more time listening to God than I actually spend talking as well. Because I think if we could infuse more and more of that into our daily lives and routines, I think it would make a real difference.
Boy, this episode gonna be doing some soul searching.
Boy, and that's what we need. That's what we need. That's what we here for. That's what we here for. We wanted to touch on those specific things. If you're listening, if it could help you in your daily life a little bit more, that's what we here for. That's what, and I'm sure that's Father Strachan's main reason for being here as well. If he could help you in your daily life, if he could just improve it a little bit, or even make you question some things a little bit more to bring it to a better place, that's what we here for, man.
Okay. So, I have another question. So, I just like to know, speaking, because it actually sort of ties into what you was just talking about, like how we pray and it's almost like we're speaking to God, but we aren't listening.
Yeah.
So obviously it goes into one of my questions. My question was going to be, what would you say some healthy spiritual practices could be? Obviously, for me, right off the back, I'll put listening to God as one of them.
Yeah.
So if we could continue on that, what would you say some healthy spiritual practices are?
Yeah, I think one, spending some time in silence every day, and I think it's sort of like. I think I can't remember who I heard say it, but to take an intentional waste of time. It's like an intentional waste of time. Like you just sit and you just spend some time in silence every day. I think that's very important. And people may find you may find that you may be lighter each week. And I think another thing that I would say is to develop a sort of routine, as people would say routine, say a sort of rule of life, like how you're gonna operate week to week and to stick to it.
Right.
I think that would be a good thing, to say, well, I can pray at this time. I'm gonna spend some time in silence at this time, and I can do X, Y, and Z at another time. I think to have some sort of ordered and patterned lifestyle would be good. One of the things, I was just talking to a young person about this week. I was, the year I was in London, I was living in a religious community. Okay. And one of the things that we found early on, it was like the schedule was like packed, bro. It was like one thing to the next. Okay. But it was ordered, and most of us found is like, bro, this schedule should be so like constricting, but like this is we never felt this free before,
That's interesting.
Because it was an ordered thing. You have a sense of knowing that, hey, I can pray in the morning. I can have lunch at a certain time. I can spend a couple of moments of silence. I can pray in the evening, or I can do some gardening or something. I can do a little workshop. I can go to a class. Right. You know that's before you, and so you could enter the day with a certain sense of freedom that I know what's gonna be before me in that sense. Unless, like I say, unless some emergency comes up or something really goes awry. Right. Outside of that, this is what the day is going to look like, and I have that sort of freedom to operate. Another thing I would say is I think a practice from St. Ignatius, which is the examen, which is each evening before you go to sleep to look back at the day and to mention the things that, let's say, mention maybe 5 things that you were thankful for in that day, and not just be like, thankful for food or thankful for shelter and stuff like that. Like, that's a good thing. Yeah. But to like think about the day that you had in great detail. Like think about the day. Break down the day and think about, for example, like 5 things that you were really thankful for that just happened in that day.
Like, oh Lord, if this person had come and he fasted it, man.
Exactly. Like that kind of thing, and do it on a day-to-day basis. And then another thing to look back and to see the times where you may have gone wrong in that day, to recall them to your mind and to offer them to God and to seek that forgiveness and to be kind of specific about it again. I think that's a healthy practice.
I needed this.
Yeah.
I needed this.
Yeah, like, facts.
As well as I'd say, the usual times of prayer and stuff are very, very good. But I say take that time for silence, take that time in the evening to sort of look back at the day and then to just before bed to offer the day that is to come to God. To say, this how I was thankful for this in this day that is past. This is where I've gone wrong. I'm sorry for that. And, I hope to be better tomorrow.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
I take a whole lot from that. Just
Yeah.
I don't know about you, Mark. I gonna run with that. I gonna run with that. As far as I took a lot from it.
Yeah,
but and I know you mentioned a few times, and I feel like it has a special importance.
Yeah.
Taking time to give yourself some peace, extract yourself from the day, extract yourself from the stresses, extract yourself from whatever bothering you, and give yourself 45 minutes, 30 minutes to an hour, just in silence or in reflection.
Yeah, that's so important because I mean, when I was in religious community, we did a week-long silent retreat.
A week long,
Yeah.
like nobody talking.
No, bro. The only time you would really talk, the only time you would talk would be really to God. In the week, that's in the chapel times and stuff like that. But outside of that, it was complete silence for the week. And going into it, one of the things that some of our community leaders told us was that, if in this time that you silent, like something happens that you need to know, like you will know. They said, don't sort of take the idea that because I can be silent for a week, the whole world can fall apart.
Restricted, right? Right.
It's like, because I silent for a week, like my family can fall apart, my job, everything on the outside world can fall apart.
Right,
like I can come on the next side of the silence and it can be like a whole new world. It's like, resist that urge. Just let yourself enter into it and know that, if something happens that you absolutely need to know, you can know.
Yeah,
you'll know
that's
it, but to be able to enter into that, like I said, silence is like an intentional waste of time. You just sit and you just be and you sort of release all of that busyness, even if for 5-10 minutes or whatever, and just be, and then you can get back to it.
That's beautiful, man. That's beautiful.
I hope you're listening to it.
I can put some water in my life now.
Those practice, that's like just sitting there and just thinking about like how beneficial those could be to me personally. It's just like I just really hope whoever watching really listening to what you're saying, because like for me, like when you say like that reflection, just like sitting back like at the end of the day, at the end of the night, right before you go to bed, and just like really just look back at your whole day. Like I know, cause see, I feel like I'm a very self-reflective person. I'm in my head a lot.
Yeah.
So in a way, I'm always like just looking at some of the things that happened before and just like breaking it down. But then when you say to sit down, I like probably like look at like maybe like one instance that happens during the day, just maybe break that down, but to be like sit down and break down my entire day and be like, I'm thankful for this. I'm thankful for this. Oh, I could have done better with this. Oh, this is my fault. I could have not actually like that sort of opening my mind to realize
bring you a whole new perspective.
Give me a whole new perspective. It's like, what are some of the things that I've done during the day that have affected other people in a way that I'm not even taking into account. So it's like, it's like a real big brain opener for me. So I actually really appreciate that.
A lot of times you don't know what to be thankful for. You don't realize how much blessings you had in one day.
Yeah, and that's true, because
You really don't.
I had this occasion where when I was in London, someone told me, it's like, last night in my, reflections or whatever before bed and stuff like that, she was like, when I was listening off these things, you was one of them, one of the things. And I was like, wow, I didn't realize whatever I was doing was, had a sort of meaningful impact in that kind of way, but, you'd be surprised. I just said that you'd be surprised in recalling the day, the things that you're really, really thankful for.
Very true.
You'd be very surprised.
If it wasn't for this, the day probably wouldn't have gone this. If it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
And that's a good point. I taking that with me. Hopefully we got some people listening who that could benefit them greatly.
Yeah, man.
And that's what we're shooting for. So fine. We could leave. We could pretty much end on this question. It's a question that I feel a lot of people ask, even if it's to themselves.
Yeah.
But I would like to know from
Call it a 21st century question.
right.
Yeah.
I would like to know from your perspective.
Yeah.
Do you think spirituality could only be achieved through an organized religion? We know people have, like you say, in the newer generation, some of our generation to come, we have a lot of people quote, straying away from the church, or people who think they found another route.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, could they get there, or could they have a sense of spirituality without going to or having that organized religion staple in their
Yeah,
life?
say you having a conversation with someone who fully believes in in God and Jesus and the Bible and different things like that, but they have like a little struggle with attending church or like the whole different things like that. Like, how would you approach a conversation with them?
Yeah, I think for me, I mean, approaching a conversation with them for me wouldn't so much be a challenge because I think it's a conversation. We should be able to be open to talk with people, interact with them, and sometimes we want to talk with people and we sort of want to pull them to where we are, but you got to talk to people where they are sometimes, and
like that.
You could get to a certain point where you could challenge them to say, well, maybe you could do this, maybe you could do that, but the initial step, we see it all the time in the Gospels. The initial step is Jesus going out and like meeting people where they are in the course of their daily lives, their work. They're going in and going out and coming in. That's where he meets them, and so for me, it's important to meet people there. But I think, when we talk about Christian spirituality, I think we're talking about something communal. And so, we talk about being a family. We talk about being brothers and sisters. And so we have to be connected in that way. And there are some people within church tradition, for example, the hermits and like the desert fathers and mothers, these monks and nuns who went into the desert and they lived a sort of life apart from society. But even they would say that, every once in a while, or indeed perhaps quite often, even if you choose to live that kind of life of being a hermit or being a monk or nun or separate, you got to touch base with people.
There's a level of connection.
You got to touch base with people. You got to be in community, because I think one of the things that we've lost or we are losing, not only in a sort of spiritual sense, but in a secular sense as well, is this sense of community, particularly here in the Bahamas, I think. And when we read the Gospels and we see what Jesus does, constantly he's calling people into community. He's calling people to live alongside each other. And that's a difficult thing to do, I often tell people that one of the most difficult things you could ever ask two people to do is to live together.
Right.
Very true.
But if that's done well, that could be one of the most beautiful things that you ever see. That two people could actually live together and do well together. And so I think that's very, very important to have this sense of community, to know that what I do is connected, especially in life of faith, to other people, and to know that there's nothing that affects the lives of other people or other brothers and sisters of mine that should be beyond my care or concern. And so I think it has to be lived in community. I think at the same time, it is important for you to have a personal discipline and sort of personal journey within the sense of community. Yeah.
That's well answered. Well answered.
I like that.
Because what you pretty much explained to me was, from what I took from it, is that I took a quote. I spoke to them about a quote earlier. Yeah. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
And that's what you pretty much explained to me, that you could try by yourself.
Yeah.
But you almost, it's a necessity to have people sharing into you, giving those other life lessons that you might have not approached
and I
yourself.
mean, even if you think that people, which is not the case, but even if you think that people don't have anything to give you, or that you can't get anything from people, the other side of that is, by you staying away, you may be withholding something that you could give to them, something that you could offer. And that's so that That's why the sense of community. And you look at like the kind of people Jesus called like totally different, people from different backgrounds. And he says, listen, y'all got to follow me together, which means that y'all got to live together in this community, and y'all got to learn to live together well. And if you could do that, then, for example, if you all 12 could learn to live together well and could learn to follow me together well, the people around you can see that.
Exactly.
And that's going to draw more people into this community to live together well, to follow me together well. And, from this circle of 12, you got circle expanding. And then you have a real and meaningful difference made in not only in the lives of people, but as it reaches from one person to another, you get this difference made in the life of the world, man.
That's a beautiful domino effect.
Right. Father Strachan, you're wise, well above your years.
Yeah, you dropped some gems.
It's some stuff I feel like, I needed to hear.
Yeah.
Hopefully it could reflect to pretty much everybody who tune in and could hear the sound of your voice.
It's you really we talked about a good bit. So for those listening, I really hope you all just take back some of the key points that you remembered, and just always remember, just reflect. That's the one I taken from it. Just reflect and be true to who you are. I want to once again thank Father Strachan for coming out. Thanks to everybody for watching and for tuning into this episode.
Appreciate you, dog. Appreciate you.
Comment, and subscribe. Let us know your thoughts so we could communicate with everybody and have that open dialogue. Till next time.
Ease up.